Hello and welcome to a new module number 3. And the theme of this module is to use the unit conversion, which is a very standard process. Many of us have used a unit conversion at one point or another and develop an app that converts units. So our initial statement, the vague statement in the beginning, is develop an app that converts units. Very simple. Nothing really well defined. We can't use that as a specification document or a requirement document. So we use the app development process, 3 steps: problem formulation, solution formulation, and solution implementation in an iterative project development cycle, in an iterative process or an iterative life cycle. So let's just start. Iteration 1 is always the planning iteration. That's where maybe even you can call it kickoff, where you kick off your project by outlining what you know and setting up the stage and the plan for moving forward. So in each one of the iterations, we apply the same 3 steps: problem formulation, solution formulation, solution implementation. The outcome of the planning is a project plan, or the kickoff is a project plan. So we'll say step number 1 is the problem formulation. And we have in that step 3 aspects. The first one is research. The second one is the scope. And the third one is the testing scenarios. So research will take us to research the market, what's out there in the App Store, and the other part is researching the concepts. The concepts. By concepts, I mean what is unit conversion. So take some time to look at the market of apps and see how they work, and the market for and learn about the app conversion. The unit conversion is basically you have a certain amount, and this amount exists in a certain unit of measurement. Like you have 3 bounds, and you want to know what that amount exists in a different measurement. So 3 bounds, you ask yourself, how many grams are 3 pounds? How many kilograms? Or if you have 5 feet, so how many meters are the 5 feet? How many miles? How many kilometers? And so on and so forth. So there are categories of units. There's units of mass, units of weight, length, and energy, and money, and so on. And you can learn a little bit about those. The example here, the vague statement does not specify what type of unit conversion we're going to create. So we'll define the scope, and the scope is a very specific scope. So for my case here, I'm gonna choose just 1 unit. So in our scope, we'll say create an app that converts units of length. So only the length we're going to convert. Length meaning feet, inch, meter, and so on. You can choose any other type of unit conversion. So how would you test something like that? We have to define testing scenarios. So testing scenario 1 is to use something that you know the answer to, and then see if the app give you the correct answer or not. So for instance, you can say, I want to convert, enter 10 as the amount, and 10 feet as the unit, as the original unit, and see that the app converts it to 120 inch, for instance. Because I know that 10 feet is 120 inch, 1 feet is 12 inch. So I know that. So I choose a scenario where I actually know the answer and see if the app gives me exactly that scenario. So depending on depending on the unit, will make many scenarios. So if you're doing this for a client, sometimes they know exactly what they want, so they will give you the specific testing scenarios. I've also worked with clients where they don't know the testing scenario. It's very vague. So you will help them. So you come to them and say, all right, what kind of units do you use? And then they will say, we'll use this, this, this. And maybe they don't know. Maybe there's the actual conversion is done by one of their employees. So you go spend some time with that employee and see exactly what type of units that they use and build your or make your scope specific. We will define our scope later on, as you will see in the further iterations. In iteration, so this is the problem formulation, and then the solution formulation. So in the solution formulation, I probably don't know much about it yet. But I know that I'm gonna ask myself about the model. I'm gonna ask myself about the view, and I'm gonna ask myself about the controller. So for the model, we know that we're gonna have an amount. The amount is a decimal number. And we learned from before that there's a type called float that we can use with decimal numbers. So this is something I can figure out immediately. Then I have the units. I have a single unit actually, and a single unit has a name like feet, which I can represent a feet with a string type. We learned about that before. So how about the full units? So the full units, which is all of them, this become a collection. So we have different types of collections that we can choose from. We used in the past a collection called NSArray, and we will see this time that we're gonna actually benefit from using something called NS Dictionary, and we'll see later on what that is. In terms of the view, I need user interface component. So I need user interface component to collect amount from the user. So we'll use something, or we'll introduce something called UI text field. We used in module number 2 the UI slider, which was very good when you have a range that the user will abide by. But in a unit conversion, you don't have a minimum and a maximum value like we had in the color project. So it's open-ended. The user can enter 1,000,000 and they can enter 2 or 0.5 or 0.7. So it's open-ended. So the text field is like a, you've used text fields in software before. So we'll use a text field. And then we need a component to display the conversion result. And we learned in the past that the UI label is a great component to display results. So we'll use that. And then we need components to allow the user to select units. Because the user will not only need to tell us, I want to convert 10, they need to tell us what is the current unit of this 10, and what is the unit they want to see the 10 at. So they will tell us, I want the 10 is currently in feet and I want to see it in inch. So we need to give them a component that they can communicate that information to us. And for that, we're going to use a component called UI picker view. So 2 new components in this project, text field and UI picker view. The controller will basically need to convert. The controller there need to be events that trigger the controller, that can trigger the conversion. So we can have the simplest event ever is a button. We can provide the user with a button. In this case, we use the UI button as we used in module number 1. But there are also some other events, like the user will be entering data. So this is an event. The user is entering data. The user will be selecting a unit. That's also an event. So capturing those events and responding to it, not just for the button, can be something useful as well. So the required part of the project is to use the button, and an addition is to use the fact that the user entered data in the text field and use that to trigger the conversion, or that the user selected the unit and use that to trigger the conversion. So you can have the button or entering in the text field or selecting the unit. Once the user made an event, what's an event? So this controller will be triggered primarily by a user action. It's a user event that will trigger the controller. So user event triggers the conversion. And the conversion basically means that you apply whatever mathematical formula. We're not going to worry about it here, or maybe you can think about it now, worry about it in the later iterations. So that's the second one. So the third step is the solution implementation, and that's where we kind of plan out our project. So we said we have iteration one. Iteration one is the planning, and then iteration two is project setup, and then iteration three. What I want to do in iteration three is first display the units to the user in a picker view, because I never use the picker view component. So I'm going to make my first iteration is just to display the unit in the picker view, and then I'm going to do iteration 4 is to display the units I need to display two types, two displays, one for the user to select the unit to convert from, and another to select the unit to convert to. So this will be the first one, the original units to the user, and then the desired units to the user in another picker view. Then in iteration 5, I can enable the user to enter an amount and perform the conversion. And then in iteration 6, maybe I can implement additional user events. So the first part 1 of the project is those 4 iterations, iteration 1, 2, 3, 4, and part 2 of the project is these 2 iterations, iteration 5 and 6. So then that takes us to iteration 2, which is project setup, and we'll do that in the next video.